Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline Heward and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. Today's show is Talking Heads and I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is part of the Mind and Body Connection series. And today's topic is, how does ADHD affect teenagers? Let's begin. So what is ADHD? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Whoa, sounds like a bit of a mouthful. Now you can understand why it's shortened to ADHD. Even I get those acronyms confused. ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. Let's delve a little further. So here's a definition from Dr. Russell Barclay. ADHD is a specific developmental disorder seen in both children and adults that is comprised of deficits in behavioural inhibition, sustained attention and resistance to distraction, and the regulation of one's activity level to the demands of the situation. Hyperactivity or restlessness. Dr. Russell Barclay. There's a lot there to unpack. And in this talk, I'm going to unpack ADHD, specifically looking at teenagers. So let's look at the cycle of behaviour with ADHD. So there will be some behavioural challenges with somebody that's suffering with ADHD, and there will be a sensitivity in lots of different areas that will be different and uncommon to somebody that doesn't have the disorder. And we're going to explore some of those behavioural challenges during this talk. There will be a learning disorder where the person that's suffering, that has ADHD, will be feeling that they're not feeling comfortable and confident to deliver or to do the homeworks or to do the activities that are required of them and are required of the other students and pupils. And they will feel a deficiency because they won't feel as good as, or their performance won't feel as good as their peers, their friends, their other colleagues, and the other pupils and friends that they're with. They will obviously, because of not being able to perform in the ways that other people are performing, that they will have a suffering under their belt of peer pressure and peer problems with teachers, with colleagues, with friends, with parents even, and family, as to them not performing in the way that others are performing that don't have ADHD. It will increase injuries to the person because of their lack of attention wherever they are. And we're going to delve into that a little bit further as we go through this talk. But one of the key things here is that it will put the person that is suffering and challenged with ADHD into a high level of anxiety and depression, which means there'll be an escape route into the mind, where they will think and analyse and talk through their lives and what they want to do versus what they are doing. So they will be living very much in their minds rather than in their sensories. So let's explore this further. ADHD, are you listening? I thought this was an excellent quote. It's a quip, really, to lighten, because people that will be challenged with ADHD will feel highly challenged with not feeling good enough. So this is to lighten the mood of the sharings. ADHD, your secrets are safe with me because there is a good chance I was not listening. And there's the key words, I was not listening. And it's because there's so much going on, there's so much attention that they can't focus on one thing. And so when you're talking to them and sharing things with a person that has ADHD, they will struggle to hear everything. And they may even ask you to repeat things. So it's probably very okay for you to share secrets with somebody that has this problem, because they may have missed what you were actually saying. So let's look a bit deeper at the symptoms. Let's look at listening. When the mind is very, very busy, the mind is preoccupied with thinking about the past, which creates depression, thinking about the future things. So what happens if I do this? What about that? If that happens, then I do need to look at this. And it's constantly going round in conversation about things that have not happened, that might happen, that could happen. And the mind is very occupied in thinking about past things or thinking about future things. So past things can move a person into a state of depression, and future thoughts of things that haven't happened can move the person into a place of anxiety about what might, could, or can happen if they did certain things. So if you can imagine that the person is highly in conversation, in a very deep internal conversation that other people aren't privileged to hear, can you see it would be extremely difficult for that person to hear what you are saying? It would be unfathomable to even expect the person to hear what you're saying. And the person with ADHD symptoms may even, if they do want to know what you're saying and they didn't catch it, which is more likely that they didn't catch what you were saying, especially if it's an instruction, they will ask you again and they will repeat the questions, especially if you're patient with them and responding to them, because they like to be listened to. They will just find it very difficult to listen to you. And this can cause a lot of stress and anxiety for the person who has ADHD, as well as the people that are around them. So family, friends, their peers, people that they socialize with, their siblings. And this can cause a high level of stress with the relationships that they're in. And so when we're looking at teenagers in particular, there is a whole heap of other things that are going on that need their attention. And the challenge with the fact that those external things like schoolwork and targets and things that they're expected to do because of their age in school, there will be a high level of disassociation because they won't feel that they're coping with everything. They will feel in a place of overwhelm. And if you are a parent, a sibling, a friend of somebody that you see this playing out, it's really good to be informed or to have awareness so that at least you can be a little bit more appreciative of the challenges that they are facing and the challenges that they are trying to overcome and yet essentially struggling with. So, of course, this is going to affect their homework because the attention span will be very small for the teenager, and the homework will be commanding and requiring a lot of attention to detail, especially when they're teenagers. There will be a lot more research and a lot more expectation from the student, especially as they're moving up to exam time. And in terms of mock exams, exams in terms of their final exams, there's a lot of strain and pressure and challenge for anybody, any student, any pupil that is normal and not having these particular symptoms. But when you have ADHD symptoms, it's going to be even more estranged for the person. And so homework will be challenging for a teenager with ADHD because they'll have a short attention span and they won't have the facility to be able to study for long periods of time. They will, in fact, feel highly uncomfortable about being confined to one task for a number of hours. And so they might be able to do homework in bite-sized chunks, but it will be very difficult to have lots of books and files open for creating dissertations because the mind, the brain can't cope. And so there will be challenges in terms of study for exams, as well as study for any ongoing homework or dissertations that they're required to do. So the schoolwork, college work is going to be very, very challenging for them, to the point that they may take the self-defense of saying, I'm not any good at that, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to pass my exams, because there will be an uncomfortableness about the fact that they will have an understanding that homework and study is difficult, and that may end up with the person feeling that they're not intelligent enough or they're not able to cope with the homework, so they're going to leave school or university or college without the grades that they need to get to do the kinds of careers that they would like to have that are afforded to other people that they are around. Remembering, they will have, anybody that suffers with ADHD, they will have a challenge with remembering detail. So this is obviously going to cause a huge impact to them in terms of their study and in terms of their everyday, because they might promise something to somebody, promise to do something to a member of family or a sibling or a teacher or a peer, and then they forgot. And it isn't that they did it deliberately, it's because their attention span is so small. So there will be a high level of distraction mechanism going on. And it's almost like, I kind of call it the shiny thing over there that they'll be looking at. And so they'll easily be distracted in terms of whatever they're doing will feel less interesting, and whatever is in another place will feel far more interesting. And so they'll go and put their attention onto that and forget what they were doing. Can you imagine what that's going to be like for a teenager that's studying for exams, and for a teenager that is doing their best that they possibly can to achieve what they need to do to get the kind of career that they desire to have? It'll almost feel overwhelming and out of their reach. There will be a level of impatience with the person that has ADHD, and impatience to get things done. So they'll want everything done like yesterday. Like there's no tomorrow in their vocabulary. It's all wanting to be done now, yesterday. The time's gone for it to be done. And they will have that impatience throughout all of their activities, no matter whether it's personal, whether it's in a relationship, in family, with siblings, with friends, with social, with activities that are requiring their attention, they will have a difficulty in being patient. So they will have a high level of impatience no matter what they decide to do. And this will be very frustrating for the person that has ADHD, especially if it's not diagnosed, because if it's not diagnosed, they will almost feel like they don't fit in. There will be a high level of emotional challenges, of not being emotional and then being over emotional. They may be tending to cry and then to be unemotional. So it can go both ways. There may be a tendency to be over emotional by crying at the smallest thing, and then there may be times where they're not connected to the emotions, and that is because there is a huge dissensitivity to the other senses. They will not feel connected to the sensory experiences, and that's because they're here in their minds, they're in their thinking and analysing, and they're going round and round in their thoughts. And then while they're in their mind and in their thoughts, they're not able to connect to the sensory experiences of the body. It's going to be very hard to see things because the mind has taken over. It's going to be very difficult for them to hear things because there's so much inner dialogue, there's so much inner conversation. And to be fair to the person that has these symptoms, no one else in their external world will have a clue what's going on internally for them. So they will be met with a lot of antagonistic conversation from other people, which they will look like they're being aloof and dismissive of because they're just not hearing, and they're not being sensitive enough to those sensory cues as to the dissatisfaction in their external world, because there's so much going on in their internal world. There is no space. This will create a huge level of disorganization, almost like a chaos, that they will be living in a level of chaos. So starting one thing, not finishing, and then moving on to the next thing because they forgot that they didn't finish it. And it's hugely challenging for anyone that's in a relationship, whether it be family, siblings, in an intimate relationship, because the person is living in an internal nightmare. It's an internal reality that they see no escape from, and they're doing the best that they can. But in their external world, the best that they can be doing is generally not seen as good enough, and they're missing lots of cues in terms of their sensory cues with other people. This will make the person extraordinarily impulsive in terms of how they go about things. So they'll suddenly might remember something and say, oh, I need to do this, and then go straight to it, and then forget, almost drop what they were doing previously because their attention has moved to the next activity. So this can create all sorts of challenges in school, in any type of study environment, in a relationship, whether it be family, siblings, because there will be a disorder in their lives that will create a chaos in terms of their external world, as well as very much a chaotic experience in their internal world. So ADHD, what's happening in the troubled teenage mind? Well, I've been sharing with you all of the things that are going on, and it's like it's coming at them from all sides, and they will struggle with being able to create some semblance of order because there is so much going on. And for a teenager, there is a lot of expectation in terms of exams, study, in terms of performing to the ability that's expected. And the expectation of performance can come from themselves. It can come from their family, their parents, their siblings, especially if the other siblings are very high in their performance levels in terms of their study and destined to be doctors, surgeons, or some very other high-fluting occupation, that they will feel almost like they're falling short before they've even begun. And this can be extraordinarily overwhelming for the teenager that has ADHD, because there is a huge level of hyperactivity in every aspect of their lives. There will be a lack of attention, there will be hyperactivity, and the whole thing that they're living through will feel like a living nightmare. Now, other people in their external world have no idea what's going on in their internal world. And so it is important for the person that has ADHD to have some semblance of appreciation that no one else understands unless they start talking to people. No one will have any clue what you are suffering unless you can feel comfortable to be confident, to open up and share what's going on for you. And the person that has ADHD will almost retract from talking to people because they're trying to muddle through it and sort it out because everyone else seems to be, in inverted commas, okay, that they're not feeling okay. And so it's almost like a challenge for them to uncover what's really going on and what's causing all the challenges. So ADHD, superhighway for thoughts. It is that superhighway for thoughts. It is conversation that's going round and round in their minds. And this quote by A.J. Finn, sometimes I've got too many thoughts at once. It's like there's a four-way intersection in my brain where everyone's trying to go at the same time. Can you imagine that? A four-way highway. I've actually been to America, and that's what the highways are like. There are four ways in each direction. So there is 4 lines of traffic going one way and 4 lines of traffic going the other way. And it's crazy to try and cross a road, and you have to do it piecemeal. And it is a very, very crazy experience. Now, can you imagine the person that has ADHD and literally has all of these thoughts racing around, and they can't make semblance of any of it? Now, because they can't make semblance of any of it and can't move through the thoughts, they then end up suffering with the overload of thoughts. And is this overload? And I thought that this quote was just completely incredible because it really demonstrates a four-way intersection. You can really see that the mind is going 10 to the dozen, 4 ways each way, and you're at the intersection. And it must be really, really challenging for the person. And sometimes this can make the person feel in overload and overwhelmed because they just can't climb the mountain. They just don't know where to move. So here's some tips for teens. The phone can be a really, really big distraction for the person with ADHD because they can get a message through, they can, especially if they've got alarms and buzzes and things that will alert them, they can then go straight off on another tangent because the phone is there and it's taking them out. So to limit the time that you're on a phone, or move the alerts, the notifications onto silent, so that you then pick up your phone and you pick up the notifications as and when you are ready to receive them, rather than being a distraction, a disturbance. Also, organisation, though as many organisation apps now for teenagers to organise their time, almost like alarm bells to give them a break, because when they're in something for a lengthy period of time, then there will be a distraction mechanism. So to work out what that trigger is, and then to organise apps around taking a break, almost like a 15, 20 minute, half an hour, 30-minute break, will add so much clarity and dimension to the teen that is struggling to focus. So when they take a break after 15 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on what their trigger point is, it will give them renewed focus and vigor to go back to do what they were doing. Confide, to move into a place of feeling comfortable to confide in a sibling, a friend, a colleague, peers at school, teachers, lecturers, because they have no idea what's going on for you. They have no idea how you are suffering and what you are coping or not coping with. All they see is your distraction mechanism. They will see that you are wandering and not really being focused or in class. You'll be somewhere else and not where you're supposed to be in your mind. And people can see when you are distracted somewhere else. They will see that you are not with them in the here and now. It's almost like if we look at a different scenario, a parent that's got their head buried in sorting out their work commitments, and the child is saying, Mummy, where are you? And the mum's there physically, but they're not there mentally. And the child can hear and see. They know the mother isn't with them, and they will call them out, because generally a young child can see, hear, they're very sensory. The person with ADHD will be limited in their sensory experiences. And so this confiding, telling someone that they're close to, sharing their challenges, can be a huge step forward to having that support network around you that is clearly required, because they don't know what they don't know. And you will be surprised how much support you can gain by sharing the challenges that you are challenged with, suffering with ADHD. Exercise is really important. When you take that break to take a walk, to take a jog around the building even, to take in air, will change your experience internally, will start to dampen down the thoughts. Because when you walk and take a break, or run or jog, you take the energy then out of the mind and you push it down into the body, and you will feel better, you will feel different, and you will feel energized. And in literally just taking yourself out of the constant conversation in the mind, because you have to look where you're going. And if you're running, walking, or jogging, you take the energy down into the body, and it calms the mind, and it moves your state of being into a calmer state and moves you out of the overwhelm. Again, relaxation, doing meditation. Sometimes people get a little bit scared about the word meditation, but meditation is simply this. It's doing something with your full attention and your full focus. So if you're walking around the block, to focus on every step as you walk. If you are jogging, actually taking notice and being in your full breath in and out as you exercise. And that will give you an incredible level of relaxation. It will move the thinking conversational mind into a state of silence. Because when you are focused in what you're doing, then the mind becomes calm and you can then move into a sensory experience. So everything I do is with awareness and intention. And so if I'm doing a meditation isn't that you have to sit cross-legged on a mountaintop with everything away from you. You can do an exercise meditation. You can do a singing meditation, singing to your favorite song. You can do a dancing meditation. And if you're dancing to your favorite record, or if you're learning the new steps to a new dance, this will move you out of the mind and calm that irritability that you've been experiencing and that overwhelm. And if you're playing, if you're doing a game, all that meditation is to move solely and unconditionally into whatever you're doing. And when you start focusing on just that activity, although the attention deficit is difficult for somebody that has ADHD, to actually position yourself to be doing something that you enjoy. So if you're singing to your favorite song, you'll probably be more sensory wanting to do that than something that you dislike, and that will move your mind into a calmer state of being. To breathe, if you're doing any level of exercise, to breathe all the way down into the belly will make you feel different. And it's about taking the energy out of the mind, which only causes anxiety if you're thinking about future stuff, or depression if you're thinking about past stuff, or stress if you're thinking about current past stuff that's causing you challenges. So when you're in class, position yourself in a way that you're going to have the least distractions. So if you're at the back of the class, you're going to have all of the distractions in front of you. You've got the windows, everyone in front of you, and the position of being almost hidden if you're at the back of the class. So my invitation, and it is only that, is to position yourself at the front of the class. Even though it might be uncomfortable, it will give you less opportunity to be distracted. And if you're not sitting by a window, because if you're sitting by a window, you've seen children, I'm sure, have that glazed look because they've gone into that daydream state. And this is what is a symptom of ADHD, that the person will feel like easily distracted into a daydream, like wandering off. If you're not near a window and you're almost positioned in front of the teacher, it's a little more challenging for you to move into that distraction mechanism. And these are tips to help you feel more comfortable in dealing with the distraction mechanisms of ADHD. Here's a quote from Dr. Edward Hallowell. The best way to think about ADD, or ADHD, is not as a mental disorder, but as a collection of traits and tendencies that define a way of being in the world. Dr. Edward Hallowell. And I felt that that was a really useful quote, because what we've been doing is looking at a lot of the negative aspects, a lot of the challenges of ADHD. And essentially, he's actually saying it's not about being defined. It's not a mental disorder. It's just that when there's an understanding of these tendencies and traits, there is a way that you can handle them. Awareness is always the key to behavioural change and being able to handle and change your experience. I wanted to share this quote by Will I Am from the Black Eyed Peas. He's a famous rapper from the Black Eyed Peas, and actually a very, very rich person. He has ADHD, and he says, "You're always moving and thinking about a whole bunch of things, but those traits work well for me in studios and in meetings about creative ideas." So hear this. He says, those traits work well for me in studios and in meetings about creative ideas. If you listen to the songs I write, they are most ADHD songs ever. They have 5 hooks in one, and it all happens in 3 minutes. I figured out a way of working with it. And will.i.am, as he likes to be known, is very famous, very rich, and he's found a way that works with his ADHD that is complementing him and giving him everything that he needs to be successful in life. This isn't a sentence. This isn't something that commits you to being worth nothing. This is absolutely a way, if you find your way of handling ADHD and moving it to your advantage, to find things that work for you. High creatives have mainly ADHD, and that's because the ideas are running around all over the place and they have to get them down. So anybody in marketing, PR, in any design work, they will be probably conquering ADHD and looking, actually dealing with and using ADHD to their advantage. This isn't a life sentence. Anyone that has been listening to this presentation that has ADHD, there are ways that you can work with it that will make it better for you, and you will be the gold person, the golden person, the person that actually does well, and you will be able to create things that people that don't have this attention deficit hyperactive disorder will be able to do. You will be able to achieve things that other people cannot achieve. And I'd like you to focus on what's possible and work around the behaviors that are challenging you, because everything is possible in a state of awareness. In awareness, you can then start working with the behaviors that are challenging for you and turn it to your advantage. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all of our Talking Heads episodes on Talking Heads playlist 2022 for last year and 2022 for this year. You'll find all of my Talking Heads episodes under my name, Caroline Heward. Talking Heads 2022 for last year and 2023 for this year. It has been my pleasure to deliver this talk today. It's not really just been about a talk. It's actually more a place for you to find a state of being and awareness. This is where you can change what you become aware of. And this was to give you a state of awareness, insight, understanding, not only for the person, the teenager that has ADHD, actually for the sibling, the parent, the friend, the relationship, the friendship. This is about being able to find your network of supporters. And in that state of behavioural change, this is where change can happen. I offer a free consultation on a call. If you ring, +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. If you are uncomfortable to call immediately, email on nomorestress@live.co.uk. I offer a free 30-minute consultation, which will relax you, which will calm things down. And if you want more of me, then there are packages that we can look forward to creating more change for you. This is the start. The start of your journey is insight, awareness, and understanding. And from that place, we create an inner peace. Namaste.